Right. I was going to say, let me go ahead and do that too.
Well,
Crack me open a nice ice cold Coke Zero. You're listening to the Bingo Hall Boys, a weekly podcast where we highlight and discuss the current independent professional wrestling scene. This week, we'll be discussing JONAH versus Mike Bailey, Biff Busick versus Kevin Blackwood, C4's Best of Speedball compilations, and our producer joins us as we review the weekend that was for WrestleMania. Before that, my name is Jake. Joining me is my co-host Mitch and producer Tyler. How are you guys doing?
What's up, guys?
I'm doing well. I'm exhausted, but I'm good.
Let's start off. I don't know if you guys saw this. IWTV was pretty much blacked out of WrestleMania weekend, but there was some stuff leading up to that weekend that I really enjoyed. Did either of you guys happen to catch Limitless Wrestling, specifically JONAH versus Mike Bailey?
I have not caught that one yet. I've never been a huge JONAH guy to begin with, so that's a tough one for me to seek out on my own, but
I have not seen that myself, but I'm a big fan of both guys, especially Mike Bailey. JONAH, I didn't really follow anything that he did in NXT, but anything after that as far as Impact or any kind of indies and stuff, I've been all about that, so I'll definitely have to check that match out.
So Limitless is a promotion that runs out of Maine, and it was a really fun show. Before I just started scrubbing like crazy to get to this match, I definitely just kind of let it play, and I was rewarded for it. Decent little card. The Northeast is kind of a weird wrestling scene. But anyway, the match itself, JONAH versus Mike Bailey, was really good. Highly recommend it. JONAH, obviously the monster in the match, and Mike Bailey worked really, really hard as the underdog. If you imagine the match, that's probably what you're going to get, but I highly recommend it. I'm just moving right along. We gotta get this stuff done. Then C4, which runs up in Canada. I think they're very, very underrated as far as a promotion goes. They do really good storytelling, show to show. They do a really good job of building people up. They have their comedy wrestlers too, like we do down here in the States. It did have the variety show feel, where they just kind of had a match for everybody. But the one I wanted to highlight was Biff Busick and Kevin Blackwood. That one was really, really good. Biff is one of those guys who was dearly needed on the independents, and Kevin Blackwood's kind of overrated at this point, but I'm still a really big fan. I would even recommend Josh Alexander had a match against a young guy. I think he's part of the Buffalo crew with Daniel Garcia and those guys. Mm-hmm. But anyway, there is this vicious spot at the end of the match where Alexander has his opponent in the turnbuckle and puts the top of his foot on the second rope and kind of hyperextends the knee and violently kicks it down and then locks him in a submission. That is the wrestling I want to see. So go out of your way, watch Limitless Wrestling and C4. They should be towards the top of IWTV. And then as I was prepping notes for this, I saw that IWTV put up 3 different compilations of Best of Speedball. So if anyone who's been listening to this podcast knows, Mitch and I have been singing the praises of Mike Speedball Bailey. He's been killing it this year. Honestly, might be my wrestler of the year. Not just indie wrestler, but wrestler of the year. His output has been awesome. And so these volumes cover from 2010 to now. They have matches against Player Uno, a couple against Kevin Steen, El Generico. He even teams with Steen to go up against Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards. There's a Brody Lee match. There's a Eddie Kingston match. A couple against Josh Alexander. Up in C4, he feuds with Biff Busick. So there's several of those. Chris Dickinson, Ethan Page. There's a 3-way with Joey Janela and Too Cold Scorpio. Tyler, I think that's right up your alley. Jonathan Gresham, Tom Lawler, Daniel Garcia, Kevin Blackwood, like I just mentioned. Definitely check those out. Next week's going to be light, so we might be covering a couple of those. And with that, deep breath.
Here we go.
WrestleMania weekend. Overall thoughts. Tyler, I want to start with you. You're the guest of honor. What was your overall thoughts WrestleMania weekend?
To say the least, I would say sheesh.
It was a lot. Are you happy that
GC
this is only once a year?
To say the least, yeah. I could definitely use 2 weeks of WrestleMania weekend just to get caught up on everything because GCW Collective alone was enough. Like I said, I still haven't finished Supercard of Honor, which I'm really psyched on, especially seeing Samoa Joe come back, getting into the ring and everything. I couldn't watch the last day of the Collective. Effie's Big Gay Brunch and a couple of other shows, Bangers Only, were 2 that I was really wanting to see. I still haven't watched either of those yet, but definitely a lot of good stuff to come out of this weekend for sure, wrestling wise.
And there's a bunch of indies that are they weren't on Fight, they weren't on IWTV, they might end up on YouTube. Who knows? For anyone who's familiar with WrestleMania weekend, there's always like some crazy lucha shows, especially down in Texas, that the cards were absolutely insane for. Like pre-show last weekend when we were previewing, Mitch and I were freaking out over these cards, and it's like, oh, what's this gonna be on? It's like camcorder? I don't know. Like we'll find out. So I will
say the World on Lucha is definitely something to check out. If not for anything other than the Team Gringo, I can't remember who the other team was officially labeled as.
Match.
But oh my God, that match was insane.
Mitch, what about you? Big picture thoughts for Mania weekend.
I think the theme for the weekend was some of the things I expected to like more, I liked a little less. Some things I wasn't as enthused about going in really exceeded my expectations. So I did not get the weekend I expected if you were asking me to rank everything going in, but I enjoyed it as a whole. I think the only one that really was exactly what I expected, positive or negative, was Supercard. That was the only show where I got exactly what I expected going in, and that's not good or bad for any of the others. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad, but that was my overall theme for the weekend for sure.
Yeah, I think overall I really enjoyed it. It was too much to fit into one weekend. Thankfully, some places ran Thursday. Honestly, if they do this again, I start Wednesday. I know some of the crowds might not be there for it, but this one doesn't rank up there as far as like all-time weekends. There have been Mania weekends in the past that were just totally crazy. There's some stuff on here that I'm going to look back on, but I think this is probably one of the weakest weekends, and it really made the week kind of a slog. So it's my job to try to be as hyped as possible because there were times where I was watching as much as possible and I was so burnt out. So let's kick it off. First show of the weekend officially was Glory Pro Wrestling, which runs in St. Louis, made the trip down and ran Cemetery Gates. Either of you guys catch this show?
I caught the show. I look back at the card and I barely remember a thing from it at this point. I'm going to do my best. I watched every single match on it and I don't even remember half of the names when I look at it. Like, that person was on this show? What's going on? Like, this is one of those ones where I just have the ultimate brain fog.
I didn't see anything from Glory Pro as far as Mania weekend starts off. I started off with because
I think it's part of the collective. So if you've got that package, it should be like the first thing.
Yeah, it definitely. I think that was the first show, and then Bloodsport was second. Right. But I didn't catch that. The only thing really that I've gone out of my way to try and watch, as far as the whole weekend goes, is GCW stuff exclusively, and then everything else was coming after that.
So yeah, I recommend this one. There's a couple matches that were really good. The show started off with Myron Reed defeating Carlos Romo, Danny Jones, and Shane Saber. All 4 guys need to be booked all over the indies. Everyone should be familiar with Myron Reed. Remember the names Carlos Romo, Danny Jones, and Shane Saber. These guys impressed, and they popped up on random shows throughout the weekend, but I highly recommend those guys. The show after that kind of went downhill. There was the Midwest Women's Territory Championship. I don't know if they call it the Women's Championship. I was psyched for Jake something versus Max the Impaler, but I think Max might have gotten concussed at one point. Like, she definitely got busted open, but the match just kind of got weird. There was a 4-way tag match for the tag team titles. For those who aren't familiar, because this is definitely like a regional thing for me, I see Karam a lot on shows, and I think this is probably the best I've seen him in a tag team with Xavier Walker. Their tag name is Hustle and the Muscle. They're
Great
pretty
name.
good. This is probably the best that I've seen Karam. Alpha Omega's good. Fly Def is a team that people really need to get familiar with. They run primarily down in Texas. And then as far as the team technical difficulties go, I can't really remember anything. Mitch, any thoughts on the submission match between Alley Catch and Laney Luck?
My only thought is that I don't like those two in a submission match. I'm a big fan of both wrestlers in general, but a submission match is not the place to showcase the strength for either one of them. So that was I think a failure on the part of Glory Pros, not setting them up for success well.
And credit to them for actually building a story.
Oh, absolutely.
They had a altercation in a previous match that led up to this, so it was a grudge match. Really bad match, but credit to them for trying to do something and set something up for women's match specifically for Mania weekend. They do get bonus points for that. Someone's driving a loud ass motorcycle down the street.
I can hear it through the speakers coming from where you are.
Jeez, dude. It's a residential neighborhood. Tommy Toughnuts out here. The match, probably my favorite match of the show, was the No Remorse Corps, Davey Richards and Rocky Romero, who defeated, don't call them the besties in the world, Davey Vega and Matt Fitchett. Grindhouse is such a cooler vibe for them. I want to see this heel version of them tag more often. This, like I said, this was my match of the show, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a really good way to kick off the weekend.
We finish up with Loser Leaves the Neighborhood, Dan the Dad over Cody Lane.
I'll say this. Dan the Dad is actually a really good wrestler.
He's a skilled worker, absolutely.
Shtick aside, he works. He's really good. I went into this match just being like, oh man. The fight package for this, where they did like the WrestleMania X7 Limp Bizkit, like get hyped for the Loser Leaves the Neighborhood match. I really enjoyed this match, and I totally wasn't expecting to.
I give full credit to Limp Bizkit for that one. They're like my childhood in a nutshell, as the ultimate in bad music that you can't help but love. So full credit to Limp Bizkit for carrying that match to another level. Then in the weirdest match on the card, Josh Alexander over Warhorse. I mean, the outcome's not a surprise, but...
And, I mean, again, both of us, we have our own feelings on Warhorse. This is the version of Warhorse that I do want to see.
Yeah.
But it definitely felt like these two were, they'd left a lot on the table. It wasn't a showcase for either guy. It just kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
And then we ended...
I honestly had no idea that match was even scheduled to happen over the weekend, so that's another one I'll definitely have to check out, because I love Josh Alexander. I also love Warhorse. He definitely rules ass.
It wasn't bad by any means, but it was like I was looking at it and I was like, all right, Warhorse, let's go. Show me what you've got. This is your weekend to shine. If you're going to get signed somewhere, this is the weekend to show that you can do it. And yeah, he was fine. And Josh Alexander is Josh Alexander. He actually was in one of the best matches of the weekend that we'll get to later. But this show ended with the Crown of Glory Championship. Mike Outlaw, who was the champion, defeated Brian Keith. This match wasn't like, it's not going to blow people away by any means, but these are two guys that if we were to put together a prospect list, I would have both Outlaw and Keith on this.
That wraps up the show, I think.
Yep.
I think I'm going with Myron Reed for my match of the show for that one. There's definitely a little bit of personal bias because I'm such a big fan of Myron, but like I said, the other three guys absolutely put their names out there for people who haven't heard of them. So that one gets the nod for me.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm not going to.
A lot of that show I would definitely like to check out, because like 90% of the guys that you mentioned, I have no clue who any of those guys are. But I'm definitely always down to learn about some new guys and see what they're all about in the ring, and become a new fan of anyone that's completely new to me.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, they primarily run out of St. Louis, so that's kind of like my backyard fed. And a lot of these guys, they'll become bigger and bigger in the Midwest, kind of like how Vega and Fitchett have over the last several years, where they're just on every single Midwest show, especially in that match that you were talking about, Mitch. All four guys, but especially the three that most don't know, you're going to be seeing more of them for sure. That gets us to Bloodsport.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds good. This was a show I was pretty psyched about. I enjoyed. I don't know if there was a match on this card that I didn't really enjoy outside of one, but we opened up Masha Slamovich over Janai Kai. Janai is someone I think if people haven't seen her yet, they're going to. She's a pretty strong worker.
She was hard to miss on this weekend. It felt like she was
absolutely.
on like every show.
She's been making the rounds. She's been pumping herself up, getting on everything she can. She's done a few appearances on Dark and whatnot. She's getting out there. I wouldn't be surprised to see her pop up in Ring of Honor or Impact on a semi-permanent basis in the future. And then the second match, this is the one where I think we got to chime in with Mr. GCW. Ninja Mac over Yoya.
Oh my God, man. Just to start it off, whenever Ninja Mac unmasked, immediately as soon as he got down to the ring, I stood up out of my chair and screamed, "Oh yeah!" I was so pumped up, but so caught off guard because for one, that was the last thing that I was expecting Ninja Mac to look like under the mask.
To look like a dude named Todd.
Right. But for two, I mean, it didn't matter if he had the mask on or off. It was still an all-around must-see Ninja Mac match, period. Like, anytime Ninja Mac is in the ring, you need to see that shit because he's always going to pull off some kind of thing that you've never seen before. And me personally, this was my first blood sport going in blind. Like, I knew kind of what it was about. There was no ropes or anything like that. You know, it was knockout, submission, stuff like that. But the very end of this match is what completely threw me off guard. Like, I don't know why I wasn't expecting it, but the way that it ended, I was so hyped on it. This was definitely Ninja Mac's weekend to show out, whether it was GCW, Ring of Honor, you know, anything like that. Even though the Ring of Honor match was kind of a squash match, Ninja Mac definitely shows out every time he gets a chance.
I'm not a big GCW guy, not even necessarily a big Ninja Mac guy. I think he's really good. Whenever he ripped the mask off, I was losing it. I don't think anyone was expecting him to do this. I was like, let's go, dude. I got so into it. Yoya's kind of whatever. And I think Bloodsport's kind of a mixed bag with me because I like my fake wrestling. Fake MMA is kind of a harder sell to like sit through. It's kind of like an uncanny valley thing where I can't fully buy in, but I can appreciate what they're doing. Right. That said, the kick from Ninja Mac to end this match was awesome. So he came in, guns blazing, like, let's go. And then the kick to end the match, I was like, Ninja Mac is the dude. If I have an indie fed, that's the dude from the collective I'm booking after this weekend.
For sure.
Absolutely. Moving on from that one, we get Royce Isaacs over Bad Dude Tito. Both of them have been to Bloodsport before. I think second or third appearance at least for each of them. Followed fairly similar patterns to most of their matches. The next match, Alex Coughlin over Slade. I have not been keeping up with New Japan or New Japan Strong very much. Mm-hmm. Holy crap, has Coughlin gotten ripped.
No, he
is huge now.
Yeah, they've got some big beefy dudes down in that dojo.
Gotten out of young lion territory and put on the mask.
Yeah, I don't know what their plan is moving forward, but dude, if you just look at that New Japan roster with the New Japan Strong roster, we're about to enter a golden era as long as we keep that like really crappy Gato booking like to a minimum and just let guys go out there and just hit each other. Dude, there's some young guys in there, and we'll get to more of them later.
Yeah, I went into that match not knowing really much about either guy. I mean, Slade, I've seen a few things with him as far as GCW, like
he's just a guy
type stuff goes. Yeah, he's really just a guy. But from Coughlin's entrance, like as soon as he came out, I was like, oh yeah, I definitely would not want to fuck with this dude. And he came off so intense throughout that whole match. Like he definitely. I could see big things in the future for him if he keeps it up.
Coughlin is the real deal. He was awesome just as a young lion before he bulked up and got a character, and it's only going up for him.
I mean, we've talked about it before. Whenever you look at those Gaijin young lions, I'm like, I don't know who to pick. Some days it's Fredericks, some days it's Coughlin.
I know which one I'm not picking.
Well, I'm trying to be positive, man.
But no,
I'm
I
going to
agree,
get
like,
negative later for sure.
I had Fredericks at the top of my list, and then I had Coughlin at the top of my list. Like it goes like crazy. Next match on the card was Johnny Bloodsport over Simon Gotch. I'm just gonna move on. After that,
I was fully expecting Hennigan to like not take it seriously and do some weird parkour off of the ring posts, and the fact that I got none of it, like he didn't even do like a 619 or something like that. I'm like, I kind of liked Hennigan in this match.
Oh, it was fine. I just thought
yeah, definitely. I'm on your side with that one, Jake. Like to me, like I said, I went into this completely blind. I had no idea really what Bloodsport was all about. But the way that he carried himself throughout, from his entrance through the end of the match and everything, I felt like he did a really good job as far as earning that name, Johnny Bloodsport, as the crowd chanted along at the end.
I definitely think he's a guy that GCW needs to book moving forward. GCW has kind of reached a point where their main event people are kind of stagnant. Their roster is just kind of at a place.
But we'll see if you want to take, Gringo Loco's The World on Lucha into account after that, because his shtick on that show was a little too much for me with the squirt guns and everything. I liked what he did on Bloodsport, but everything after that, it's kind of hit or miss.
But me. I mean, if they start booking shows and you've got something like, you're telling me you wouldn't be hyped for like Hennigan versus Gringo Loco?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or like if they pulled the trigger and they were the first ones to do Hennigan Nick Wayne, or Hennigan Jordan Oliver, like I think there's a real spot for him in GCW. I don't know if he'll take the bookings. I don't even know if he's signed anywhere at this point, if he's making that sweet Impact money yet or not. But anyway, yeah, we can move on.
All right, next up, Marina Shafir, The Problem over Zeta Zhang. I was glad to see Marina pick up the win here. I wasn't surprised she won, because I'm pretty sure we're getting the graphic after. I mean, she's not beating Jade on Dynamite, but after she fights Jade, I'm pretty sure the graphic's officially coming. So she's not going to be losing very much on the indies anymore because of that. And Bloodsport is kind of made for Marina. Like,
for sure.
She was a shoot fighter. She knows what she's doing. So I was happy to see it.
So I did buy some stock on her. Would you be willing to buy it from me? Because 100%. I don't want it anymore.
I will buy up all the Marina stock. I am fully aboard the Marina Shafir train.
There is some stuff here that I don't know. If I had to go either way, in or out, I think I'm out.
I'm a big women's wrestling aficionado as far as it goes. But I think Mitch definitely he holds a little bit more power with that than I do. But I'm kind of leaning a bit more so towards Jake's side. This was really, I haven't really checked out any kind of, AEW Dark or anything NXT regarding to Marina Shafir.
Don't watch the NXT stuff. It's bad.
Well, I don't really watch anything NXT anyways, unless someone is threatening my life with it. But I'd like to see more from her, but going into Bloodsport, I definitely felt like that was her place to shine. Yeah.
Next up might be my least favorite match on the card: JR Kratos and Timothy Thatcher. I don't like Kratos at all.
Can I say I told you so on Thatcher? He absolutely shit the bed this weekend, and I'm really upset about it. There goes all the positivity. I'll save my big rant for later. But I'm so done with Thatcher and his lazy graps. Do nothing.
I'll be honest with you. Going into this, I didn't know really anything much about either guy. I mean, I knew that Thatcher was NXT there for a bit. JR Kratos, I had literally never heard anything about. But you both know how hype I get on Hoss Boys going into a big fight. And
Kratos
whenever he
Hoss.
came out, when he came out, I was like, oh shit, it is about to go down. And I really didn't care too much for whatever Thatcher had to offer at that point. I just wanted to see what Kratos did. And the big ender, that big Superman punch right at the end, I was like, okay, all right, he's a bit of a badass. I'm down to check out more of what he's got. Thatcher, I could really give a shit less about just seeing what he had to offer on Bloodsport over the weekend.
I'll say this though, JR definitely seems like a collective guy for sure.
100%.
He should be the new PCO. Let's just throw that out there.
One of the bigger upsets, I think, Yuya Yamura over Mike Bailey. I mean, Bailey can afford to eat some losses. Like, it does not matter one bit for Mike Bailey, but that is a big win for Yuya, and that becomes a theme of the weekend. The young lions are breaking out. They're
not young lions
anymore. They're not young lions anymore. They are starting their excursions. They're exiting the dojos, and that was the New Japan theme for the weekend. Was they are no longer young lions, and this was a really good match. I like this one a lot.
Yeah,
I definitely enjoyed that match. Mike Bailey losing definitely caught me off guard. I was not expecting that, but I'm not always down to see exactly what I expect. I want to be caught off guard every now and then, whether it's someone I expect to win, expect to lose. Either way, regardless, I like to be caught off guard, and it was definitely a fun match to watch. All in all, from start to finish, and Mike Bailey losing definitely was a surprise to me, but it's not something that I'm gonna be angry about. I like to see that kind of stuff.
I was really impressed by Yumura. I think he's probably going to. If I had to bet on a young lion, it's hard to take your pick, but I'm torn between him and Fredericks to say which guy's going to succeed more. And honestly, I think Yumura, look out. I think this is a main event dude. And given it's New Japan, it's going to take us like 6 years for us to get there.
Minimum.
Right. But he is the guy I would invest in for sure.
Josh Barnett over JONAH. No real surprise. Barnett doesn't lose very often in his own promotion, because that would kind of destroy a little bit of the credibility. It was a match. I didn't really care for this one, to be honest.
It was fine.
Yeah.
I honestly can't remember anything from it.
The next match, however, was far more than fine. This was an early front runner for match of the weekend. Jon Moxley over Biff Busick in an absolute bloodbath.
Oh my lord.
These two motherfuckers beat the shit out of each other. Oh. I will watch that one back. There are very few matches after a weekend like this that I'd go and rewatch. I will run that one back for sure.
It's worth the cost of admission.
100%.
Oh yeah, definitely. I went into it whenever Jake had told me that was the match to see. I still hadn't gotten to that point yet. And then finally, like almost immediately after I finished that match, I messaged him back. I was like, "Oh yeah, this was all worth it. If not for anything else but this match, it was definitely worth it." They beat the shit out of each other. The whole match was stiff. It was a bloodbath. It was definitely something to witness for sure.
I just felt bad for Biff, dude. He got busted open so bad. It was like the rest of his weekend was shot.
He fought through it tough.
Yeah. I want to see a rematch between these two. And honestly, if GCW had the balls, Biff would be the one to take the title off of him.
That'd be a cool way to go.
We'll get to that later.
Felt bad. Like, how do you follow that match?
You can't. You literally can't.
There was no way. So Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson went over Murder Grandpa Suzuki.
And the crowd did not like that.
No, they were livid. But like you couldn't. Those two guys never had a chance. There was no way.
Suzuki's Kaze Nina Ray entrance is more over than 90% of most indie guys at this point, whether absolutely. It's GCW or not. That's what the crowd is there for, is to see the Murder Grandpa and to shout Kaze Nina Ray.
Oh, I'll tell you this much. My wife and our animals were really sick of me doing it because I did it about 20 times over the weekend. Which, by the way, I found out that the big show that Glory Pro is running at the pageant in St. Louis is the day I get back from Tampa for a work trip. So my flight lands at 7:30 in the morning, and I have all day to kill before that show. So I'm like, I don't think I can do it. And then I saw it's Minoru Suzuki versus Jake something.
All right, like, so you're going.
I guess I'll go sleep in a park for the day. I don't know.
Just drink in the airport all day. You're fine.
After my flight lands, I'll be like, Chili's to go. Open the tab.
And that was Bloodsport 8.
There was 2 other matches I wanted to mention. One, the Boards of Fuckery death match with Sawyer Eck and Brandon Kirk. I don't really have any idea who Brandon Kirk is, but I have been lately checking out a bit of Sawyer Eck, what she's been doing in Deadlock and a couple of other promotions and stuff. I went into the match rooting for her so hard, and she still came out to win with the dollar bills stapled to her forehead and everything else. You know,
Of course.
that match was definitely fun. I was really appreciative of the winner. The one thing that I did want to mention, the other match, the light tube death match with Hoodfoot and Madman Pondo. I like the little bit that I have seen of Hoodfoot and GCW. And like I said before, I'm not the biggest deathmatch guy, but I do appreciate what some of those guys have put out as far as the GCW shows go. Hoodfoot and Madman Pondo. I don't know how many times, to be honest with you, I wanted to just cut the stream off because it felt like it felt like something gruesome was about to happen. Like much so like what happens with watching an Alex Colon match. I fucking hate that guy. I hated watching this light tube death match with Hoodfoot and Madman Pondo. There was so much blood, so much gore. It was too much for me.
Thanks for the rundown, dude. That's one of those things where it's like I looked at it on paper. I'm like, I got to start cutting stuff from the rundown, and that one was an early casualty because.
And if there is one other thing that I'd like to mention just to follow up on later, Shane Mercer, he's for one, he's a hometown guy for me. I'm a Kentucky boy. Shane Mercer is billed as being from Lexington, Kentucky, which is about 15 minutes away from me or so.
Yep.
But this dude, it doesn't matter if he wins, loses, if it's a singles, scrambles, whatever kind of match it is. This dude always pulls something off that you have to see. Like, he throws motherfuckers 15, 20 feet in the air. And that's the spot just for you to check out in that night. The match that he had on Planet Death with some dude named Neil Diamond Cutter. Neil Diamond Cutter looked like someone from down my local holler that's a meth head. He does not fit the bill as far as being a pro wrestler goes. Shane Mercer pulled some crazy spots all throughout the whole weekend. He was definitely someone to look out for.
Thanks, dude. Mitch, you want to keep the good times rolling, and we'll jump into Spring Break Part 1?
Yeah, so Spring Break Part 1. For me, I was only able to catch about half of this show, not intentionally. After the Nick Wayne match, I could not get my stream to work anymore, and it would keep freezing up on me. And after trying about like 3 or 4 times, eventually I just had to cut bait and move on. There were 3 matches left, and there was so much stuff. So I've got the first 4, but I missed the last 3. It opened up.
We'll get you covered.
Yeah, opened up on the tag title match. Briscoes defeating just Nick Gage for a temporary spot. Like, so it was going to be just Nick Gage because Tremont couldn't make it down, so Nick Gage cut his line saying, I don't need nothing, partner, throw me in anyways. And then Slade just kind of showed up, and I mean, I guess you can't DQ him because anything really went in this match, so you just added a partner, and we went with it. But they went over, Briscoes went over them, and good old Manser and Matt Justice. Anyone have anything positive to contribute for this match? Because I do not.
I have nothing positive to add to that, mainly because I'm a huge Second Gear Crew guy. Matthew Justice is my fucking boy. Same thing with Old Manser. I love both of those guys. I wanted both of them so bad to win that match, but I went into it expecting them not to win, so I can't say it was a complete letdown, but I definitely wanted those two to win over everyone else.
They did my boy Mance dirty. It was bad. It was a beating so bad it's like leave the territory bad. Any gruesome bump that was in this match, he took. And some of them were just like, and again, this is kind of part of the deathmatch GCW culture that I have a hard time with, is like the setup for spots. It takes too long and it kind of takes me out of the match.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely hated this. Because the Briscoes winning is whatever. Nick Gage losing. Slade Jag, like I said, just a guy. But Warner and Justice should be like big parts of what they're doing. Again, I just felt bad for Mance. They put him through the ringer, and I'm just like, man, this dude just got off of an injury. He should be headlining most promotions.
For sure.
Without seeing the entire show, I still feel confident to say that this next match was likely the match of the show.
It was
Christian and AR Fox. It
was my match of the show.
It was not going to go wrong, and it did not go wrong. Blake Christian went over the wily old vet, and it was a great match, and whatever you would expect it to be is exactly what it was.
Yeah, it was nothing wrong. I think, honestly, I probably would have started the show off with this.
Yeah.
But I get why not. It's GCW. You want to start off rough. You want to end rough. I get it.
Yeah.
I will poke my head in for most GCW shows because they have a match or two that are just like this, and I have to see it. And it didn't disappoint. I'm glad that AR Fox is back, baby. Miss that dude.
Anything that AR Fox is doing in GCW is definitely worth checking out. If
anything AR Fox does is worth checking out.
in general. But if you're very picky about what you're going into watching GCW for, whether it be the death match or anything like that, if there's one specific thing to look out for, if AR Fox is on the card, definitely watch that match because that's almost guaranteed to be match of the night.
Anyway, moving down the card, Mickie James went over Alley Catch. They did a weird double crotch grab spot in the match, and it was what it was. Nick Wayne won a giant kind of scrambly match with Price, Gringo Loco, Cartwheel. Cartwheel.
It was fine. The beginning of the match, again, it was just like everyone had to do their counteract or like they had to counter each other, and it was all very set up, and it was pretty clunky. They hit their stride in the match, and these are all guys, again, like Jack Cartwheel is a dude that everyone should be booking. Same for Oliver, Ninja Mac, Tyler, close your ears. I have nothing nice to say about Lloyd at all. He's a deathmatch guy.
I'll take that. He's definitely a deathmatch guy, but he can do other things outside of that. Like I'm not the biggest Jimmy Lloyd fan, but to me, he seems like the most real kind of most relatable person out of everyone else that's generally in his scramble matches, I guess, at least to me. And that's why I root for him so hard, because he just seems I don't know, he just seems like a down to earth guy.
People tried to tell me the same thing about Jimmy Havoc, that he wasn't just a deathmatch guy, and that was a load of crap. Jimmy Havoc sucked.
I mean, I'm not trying to squat all over the guy, but it's just like I can tell that he's working on getting better. It's just what I want out of a wrestler is a pretty high bar, and I think he can get there. He's just not there for me now.
Right.
Everyone else in this match, rad.
All right, so that's the end of what I was able to catch from this show, because my feed kind of died on me. So Tyler, were the last three worth checking out? Should I go back and watch them? What was good on it?
I believe after that there were three more matches, one being Joey Janela versus X-Pac, which was probably the highest build match out of the whole show, going into it, just storyline wise, and especially after everything that's happened with Scott Hall, it definitely seemed like something to check out, and for sure root for Sean Waltman, X-Pac, whatever you want to call him, over Joey Janela being the ultimate asshole that he has been lately. But that was a very fun match. It went about 20 minutes or so. Not too long, but it was a little bit more than what I kind of wanted it. Like it definitely wasn't Joey Janela versus Matt Cardona, Hammerstein overbooked type stuff. But it could have lost a few minutes and it would have been fine from there. I still don't think that was the match of the weekend to watch out for. Regardless of it being highly booked or not. After that, there was Jon Moxley versus Black Death, a.k.a. the motherfucking Truth, AJ Gray, in the GCW World Title match. That one was very fun. I love Mox. I love AJ Gray. I love SGC. So I was a little bit biased in that one. I was rooting a bit more for AJ Gray, even though Mox did pull out the win. I kind of wasn't really expecting AJ Gray to get the win on there, but it was a very fun match to watch for sure. The match for me was the last thing I'm seeing here on the card.
Well, I gotta ask you real quick about
Sure.
about the match. I think AJ Gray should have won. And I think it should have been in less than the 22 minutes that they were given. I don't know. My fingers are off the pulse. Who's the guy that's going to beat Mox?
Even as an avid watcher of GCW, right now, I have no idea. If Atticus hadn't stepped away to go to Circle 6, I would have said Atticus Gogar, 100%.
Sure.
He was going to be the guy to beat Mox. But as of right now, honestly, I have no idea because they have so many different things going in so many different directions. Joey Janela should be the guy that GCW is going to build around as their guy, especially with him not, re-signing with AEW or anything like that. But it still feels like he has so many other things that he needs to focus on or take care of before he even worries about, stepping up into the GCW World Title match. Right now, as far as world title goes, I would stick with Mox until someone else, whether GCW is able to build them from the ground up to, make you see that they're the guy to
Right.
go with. As of right now, I would stick with Mox. I would play it safe and stick with him until there's someone that's absolutely undeniable.
So this is what I was kind of talking about earlier with their main event scene, where it just seems like Moxley is king of the hill. He is on top of the mountain. I don't think there's anyone on his level in GCW, and I think that's kind of a problem. And I think that goes back to whenever Nick Gage was on top, and it was just like, well, what does GCW look like post Nick Gage? And they didn't really have a plan for that. I think they should be really, really happy that Mox wants to continue to be the champ. Because, like I said, I don't think there's a main eventer right now. They haven't made anyone credible enough to beat
with
Mox.
As many shows as they run every other weekend or so. Like, you would think that they would have someone up and ready to put right with Mox. But even, like I said, as someone who watches all of those shows, whether it's Collective or the every other weekend show, anything like that, there's still no one person in particular to be like, okay, this is the guy. There's multiple people that they have that could step up to the plate, but at the same time, going into the match itself, it's still like, I'd like to see them come out on top, but I don't believe it necessarily. Like Jordan Oliver, he's definitely one of the guys that GCW has seemed to build a lot of their company around of lately. Jordan Oliver is a big guy.
He's not there yet, though.
Right.
If Mox ends up having like a Bruno Sammartino like run where he's the champ for like over 7 years, I think they'll be there. But anyway, I wanted to get your thoughts on that since you're a big GCW guy. Like I didn't know if I was kind of wrong in thinking that no one's really ready to take the belt off of him yet.
I don't think anyone is really ready to take the belt off of him yet.
Which is
personally,
fine. Take us into the main event.
Main event was definitely something that was big on my watch list because it was the Ultraviolent title match. Again, not a huge deathmatch guy, but both of these guys going into it are two complete polar opposites to me. John Wayne Murdoch should be, by all intents and purposes, the bad guy. And Alex Colon should be the good guy, just based off of, crowd reaction and everything like that. Myself going into it, I absolutely despise Alex Colon, and I wanted John Wayne Murdoch to win that from the get-go. So I was so excited.
Well, there you go. You got it.
I was so excited to end the show with that, with John Wayne Murdoch going out on top over Alex Colon. I really hope that we never see Alex Colon again. I'm almost certain that he will show back up, and I'm going to bitch about it online. But for now, I'm very happy that the Duke came out on top and became the new Ultraviolent title champion.
Be the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Super Show.
Yep.
Yeah, this was one of the ones that we kind of put our finger on the pulse for going into the weekend, and there was a lot going on this show.
I thought it was going to be the show of the weekend, like right up there with Ring of Honor and Impact. Like I had high hopes for this, and they didn't really get there.
No, I think there were a couple matches I enjoyed, but overall it did not live up to the expectations I had for it. I really Bandito and Bailey was a good match. I think it did
Awesome
win the match of the night bonus.
I love
No
it.
complaints there.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can just run through the stuff that we really enjoyed. Bandito Bailey is like the match to watch on this show.
Mm-hmm. Easily.
If you don't end up watching the ROH show, this is probably going to be your match of the weekend. Hey, again, it's just Bandito showed up, ready to roll, and Bailey is Mike Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of running out of ways to talk about how awesome this guy
For
is.
real.
This is the part of the show that totally lost me. Mia Yim defeated Athena in a match that it lowered the stock of both women to me. It was okay. Slow. They were just kind of plodding along. It totally killed the buzz after Bandito Bailey.
And the next match after it did not help. Ishii versus Thatcher was the drizzling shits. And I know you still have a large Thatcher rant ahead of you, but if that didn't kill it enough...
No,
then...
this is it. This is the time to showcase yourself. This is where you get cut from Connecticut, and you're like, you know what? They were wrong. I'm going to show the world that Timothy Thatcher is one of the best. I've got a match against Tomohiro Ishii. This was so bad. How do you have a match this bad with Ishii? It should be impossible. I don't get it. I mean, his entire Evolve run was so bad. It almost killed Evolve for me altogether. I hate Timothy Thatcher now. He is so far off the reservation. Like, I will not watch another, like, go out of my way to watch Thatcher. Like, if you don't show up, and even you'll get a bonus. You get an extra $2,500 if you go out there and kick ass. And Ishii is like the dude to have that match with. It was so bad. I don't understand how you could just lazily put a headlock and just like kind of wrap your legs around and not look convincing. He's so bad. He might be my least favorite wrestler right now.
And yet that does not get my vote for worst match on the card. This next one does. Taya Valkyrie over Johnny, I guess we'll call him Johnny Hitchcock this time, or Johnny Memorial in a dirty
Did you see what I put
dishes.
down in the show notes?
Yeah, I saw that.
This is a weird match.
It
was simulated domestic abuse, like literally.
I hated this. Why we brought dishes out? We were smashing dishes over each other. What the fuck was this?
So, for those of you who don't know, Taya Valkyrie and Johnny Wifebeater are married, and they were like, "Hey, loser does the dishes for the rest of our lives," and it gets violent. Like they bring out thumbtacks. And I'm like, God, okay, like. Some corners of the internet might really love you guys for this, but dude, I
was really grumpy after that match. I mean, the match.
I haven't watched this match, but going into it, just seeing the graphics and everything, I immediately thought Good Housekeeping match or whatever it was called with Chyna and Jeff Jarrett slap nuts back in the day. But
this was worse.
But yeah,
much worse.
I wasn't expecting anything good out of this match, but then again, I haven't watched it, so I can't say that I was blown away or let down, either one from this.
Oh, we have easy advice. Don't.
Next match was really good. I don't think it lived up to Bandito Mike Bailey, but Laredo Kid, Michael Oku, and Ray Horace defeating Ace Austin, Black Taurus, and Josh Alexander. This is like these 6 guys showed up and killed it. I really hope Michael Oku has a really big future here in North America. I definitely want to see more of him over here. Laredo Kid is awesome. I want to see more people book him. Ray Horace, awesome dude, total veteran. Same with Josh Alexander. Ace Austin showed up. Black Taurus is Black Taurus. It was great. I loved it. Mitch, what'd you think?
Great match. I echo the things on Michael Oku. Ace Austin just re-signed with Impact. Going to keep going on his run there. Just announced that a few days ago. But I mean, I think the sky's the limit for him. He gets it. That wasn't my match of the show. I think the next match might have been as good as Bandito and Bailey was.
Really?
I loved Murder Grandpa Busick. I enjoyed it.
I did too. Like it's highlighted in the show notes. Like I was really into this match, but floor is yours.
I think the reason I put this one over Bandito Bailey is just it helped that Busick got the crap beat out of him at Bloodsport and was like already banged up and bloodied, like he was fighting with a chip on his shoulder to begin with. I think if he came out of Bloodsport clean as a whistle and they did this same match, it wouldn't have had the same effect for me. But just having like a raw, like half stitched up Busick getting the crap beat out of him, that brought this one to a new level, combined with the Murder Grandpa just laughing his ass off the whole time about it. So that was the X factor that you can't account for. You can't plan to have a bunch of stitches in your head already.
I think the thing that helped out this match a lot for me was the fact that Suzuki was fine in Bloodsport, and we talked about it a little bit last week, where for the people who think that Minoru Suzuki was going to come over here and put on 5-star matches every single show is a lot to expect out of him. I think both of us agreed that it was much more likely that he was going to be pretty bare minimum, just cash the checks and move on. His improv work as a wrestler is probably up there with literally anyone in the world.
Absolutely.
And once he started focusing on Biff's head and opened him up, it was great. I just felt bad for Biff. I'm like, dude, this is his whole weekend. He can't keep losing blood like this. It's crazy.
I mean, that is how you put your name back out there, though. Yeah. That is not the Timothy Thatcher road. That is the road where you say, yeah, they did make a mistake, and I'm going to prove it. And Biff proved it big time this weekend.
You want to run down the rest of the show real quick? The rest of the show is, dude, that main event, I'm not going to say anything else about it besides I cannot believe Low Key can't be booked on Supercard shows again, right? Like he's totally untrustworthy. Like he had no credibility going into this weekend, but dude, that's all I'm saying. You can wrap up the show.
Big kind of team match. Onita, Colt, Boom Boom, Juice, and Rock and Roll Express went against Barry Horowitz, Dirty Dango, Jimmy Wang Yang, Enzo, and PCO. Standard 10-man low energy tag, and a crap main event of the Briscoes over Homicide and Low Key. And let's just move on because that killed that even more.
The only other thing I'll say about that after the main event was I felt so bad for the Briscoes. I was like, they have a huge show for ROH, and the secret's basically out there that HBO was the whole reason that they're not signed with AEW. And I was like, dude, between the reason why they're not getting booked and their output so far, I was like, dude, this is going to be a bad weekend for the Briscoes. Bad weekend. Thankfully, I was wrong. But before we get to Ring of Honor,
we've got
maybe one of the easiest shows you'll watch all weekend. It was like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it was an hour and 40 minutes, I think. Yeah.
Awesome show. So run us through New Japan Lone Star Shootout.
Yeah, Lone Star Shootout. Once again, we're going to keep going on the Young Lions no longer being Young Lions train. The coming out party continues.
I called it.
We have Ren Narita going over Rocky Romero. Good match, not a great match, but a good match. And again, former Young Lion picked up the win. Next up, we went to Clark Connors, Carl Fredericks, Mascara Dorada, a.k.a. Grand Metalik, and Yuya Yamura again over Finjuice, our boy Danny Garcia, and Kevin Knight. I am a huge fan of Clark Connors and Carl Fredericks. The Young Lion class this round is just ridiculous. We are not getting Master Watto out of this Young Lion group. Like, we are not getting booby prized with Master Watto again. Like, phenomenal class.
Honestly, I'm a huge fan of everyone in this match besides Finjuice. I am ready for them to just go.
I'm kind of over them, yeah.
Dude, I've been over them for a long time. Like that, I was hoping that NXT would grab them and they would just be like, they can go be in that part of the world and be totally non-offensive. They don't fit in New Japan at all.
I think they're going to end up in Impact. I think that's the final.
I don't think they're going to have much option.
No, that's the only place, and that's the place where they'll be most likely to fit in. After that, we had Murder Grandpa again over Killer Cross. This was an example of the ones where Suzuki's not putting in 110 because he didn't really need to. nothing wrong with the match. Like, Cross did fine, Suzuki
No,
did fine.
Minoru he's old, man.
That's the thing. You can't expect him to do it all the time, and this wasn't the place to do it, so he didn't. So it was fine. Cross did his part well, and
where's home gonna be for Killer Cross?
I don't know. Pre-sale, I would have. I mean, you know what? Maybe it's MLW. Maybe that is home for him.
That and like Indies like Warrior.
Yeah, that might be the answer. I mean, it sounds like Scarlett's doing a lot of like other projects.
Sure.
They're both trying to kind of break into those worlds. MLW might be home for them.
I wouldn't hate him on New Japan Strong. I'm not like, I don't hate Killer Cross. It's just he doesn't seem to really fit anywhere. I mean, WWE didn't want him. AEW doesn't want him. That goes for Ring of Honor.
Extension Ring of Honor, yeah.
You brought up the fact that he burnt the bridge for Impact. I think he should be in a tag team. That's why last week I pitched he should be in Suzuki-gun. Bring some credibility there, just as like a big dude.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel bad for the guy because I can tell he's trying.
Mm-hmm. He seems like a nice guy every time I hear him speak in interviews. Like, I want to root for him, but yeah, I don't know where he fits in right now. It might be MLW.
Yo, these last two matches, let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Switchblade Jay White over Speedball Mike Bailey. Fantastic match. This was my match of the show for sure. Not that there were a ton of matches on this show. It was a really quick card, but Jay White and Mike Bailey was definitely my pick. I mean, Jay White does his typical heel shtick. I like the end where he went to pick up the mic and then just rolled out of the ring and no-sold everybody. Hell yeah, buddy. And then Ishii over Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson in the main event. And that was a very quick show and another good match.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Dickinson guy, so him going out there and having just a banger of a match with Ishii, I'm like, again, it just made me more mad at Thatcher.
Absolutely.
I'm like, what are you doing?
And I mean, for Dickinson, New Japan's kind of been, from the sounds of it, the dream destination so him getting these spots on the strong cards is a great thing for him. Yeah. Then we get to the biggest show of the weekend.
Easily. Tyler, you back with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I just had to watch Sheeta finish that match out with the Falcon Arrow, baby, because nobody kicks out of the fucking Falcon Arrow.
All right, let's rock in. Biggest show of the weekend, Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor 2022. The first incarnation under Tony Khan's reign as owner, operator, booker, everything for Ring of Honor. And this is
Chief Branding Officer.
Chief Brandy Officer, everything, you name it. It is, and this is 100% TK finance, no Shad Khan influence on it. This is a solo TK project. He is the only owner now.
Credit to him though for bringing Kerry Silken in for the show. That was awesome.
Absolutely, that was low key, just a super class highlight of the show for me. I'll kind of skip over the pre-show quick. There were 4 matches on it. Some familiar names.
Fine.
It was fine. Like it's fine to watch.
I will say, big picture, I like Dalton Castle. In our Lost episodes, and I think it made a couple of our early episodes.
Yeah.
Early episodes. This is only the 4th one. Get out of here. I was kind of burnt on Dalton Castle. He's basically shtick. I think he showed up to work.
Absolutely.
He was really good in the pre-show.
He and Joe Hendry had a great match together. They had lots of time. I get the feeling for both of them it was an extra tryout to see if they fit, because they both were ROH guys pre-sale. And
Joe Hendry has to be a part of Ring of Honor moving forward. I'm hoping now that he's in the country, like he is here.
And I can just say, I believe in Joe Hendry.
I
need the entrances. I need them. I cannot handle a world without Joe Hendry entrances. So absolutely, that would be the match of the pre-show for sure. But getting into the official card, we kick it off with a hell of a match to open the show.
Oh yeah, we did.
Sauce God Alex Zane falling victim to Swerve. It's what you'd expect. The Sauce God is back. He did not win over Swerve, of course, but I'm sure he'll be a big fixture in Ring of Honor going forward, and eventually likely AEW proper as well. And Swerve showed up and showed out. Great opener.
we are really high on both guys.
Mhm.
Swerve, I don't know what Swerve's future in AEW is going to look like how long they'll take before they start giving him like big singles matches and him winning those matches. If he just kind of is like one of the top guys in Ring of Honor, I wouldn't see that as a demotion.
No.
And Alex Zane I'm really happy for the guy. And I'll be even happier if he gets signed and works Ring of Honor more often. He is the perfect guy for Ring of Honor.
Absolutely.
For what this iteration might be. I really, really like this match, and it was awesome to start off. Tyler, what'd you think?
Alex Zane is another Kentucky boy for me, so I definitely had to root for him going into that. But still, I love Alex Zane. I definitely love Swerve. This was probably the match of the night for me. Second to FTR.
I was gonna say, I was like, what?
Yeah, I know. Spoiler alert. Hell of a match.
Your guy Ninja Mac came out.
Yeah. So
Ninja.
This was the big twist on the evening. It was Ninja Mac against an unknown opponent, Tully Blanchard's new client, and I mean, it wasn't really a big secret. I think it was pretty obvious, but I'm still going to sit here and say I told you so anyways, because I did call the shot with it, even if it was like saying 2 + 2 = 4. It was the Machine, Brian Cage, and I mean, I kind of felt bad for Ninja Mac. He just got the crap beat out of him. Did what it was supposed to do for Cage, but poor Ninja Mac did not get a chance to shine.
Yeah, this was the least important Ninja Mac match of the weekend for me. I went into it so hyped, screaming, yelling for Ninja Mac, let's fucking go! And then as soon as Tully Blanchard comes out and announces that Brian Cage was his pupil, I knew it was over from there. But
I mean, if he
in the end, he still
and hit the giant kick, he would have won.
Yeah. He did still pull off some good shit, though, even though it was basically a squash match. He definitely got a little bit of time to shine to show that he can do some wild things. So hopefully there's much more to come from Ninja Mac other than just GCW. I'd like to see him kind of all over the place.
Oh, I want to see him in Ring of Honor. I hope this isn't a one-off for him.
I think, I kind of view it as a test. He did his job. He put Cage over. He made Cage look like $1 million. He made Cage look like a big deal again. So that is as good of an endorsement as any as you can have to say, hey, hire me. I'll do the role I need, whatever it is. So
Brian Cage in Ring of Honor has a much higher ceiling than Brian Cage in AEW. Most people, whenever he signed to AEW, are like, who's this dude? And I'm like, oh, he's Mr. Get My Shit In. Like every match is the same, basically. Like he hits the same spots. He looks like a god on the indies. I mean, Warrior Wrestling built the whole promotion. He is a god there. Yeah. Ring of Honor is the perfect place for him.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I wouldn't be mad if he ends up winning the world title.
He is who I expected after this to go over Gresham when the time comes to take that title.
Not Michael Elgin?
Not Michael Elgin. Fuck Michael Elgin. But before we move on to the next match, quickly, with the pre-show as well, the other two members of Tully Blanchard Enterprises as of this moment, Khan, who is an ROH familiar for people who are watching before, and Toa Leona, who I haven't seen a lot on the indies, but I saw in Dark a lot and was really, really impressed with. So that was one of the low-key highlights of the show, was seeing Toa Leona show up and get a spot in the Tully Blanchard faction, because he's legit, and I'm super excited for that faction.
I like that team a lot. Oh my god, this Young Bucks match just gave me a seizure out of the side of my eye. No, strobe lights are real. Anyway, yeah, great looking team. If they end up doing the trios titles or something like that, like it's awesome. AEW kind of has too many factions, and that's the only story that they tell. So the fact that we only have one real super group besides just Gresham's loose group of grapple perverts, it's really awesome to actually have like big bosses to go over. And I saw these guys and I was like, Authors of Pain, you could have had it. But I think the ceiling's really high for these two. I'm excited. Give them the tag titles when it's the time. Let's do it.
Next up was Jay Lethal and Lee Moriarty. Solid match, real high on Lee Moriarty. Really curious what's next for Jay Lethal, knowing he was signed to be AEW proper, but that was when Ring of Honor no longer really existed. So I don't know. He obviously had some other things going on in this show, but is this going to be the new home for Jay Lethal? I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
If I'm him, I wouldn't be upset.
No, he loved Ring of Honor. Like
heel Jay Lethal is really good. Babyface Jay Lethal, especially in ROH, I can get sick of that pretty fast.
I would think that ROH, especially now that TK owns it, is definitely Jay Lethal's place to stay. I mean, ROH was already Jay Lethal's home, but now that TK has it in his hands, I kind of see everything that Jay Lethal has done to this point ever since signing with AEW is kind of like a waiting game up until this officially was announced. So I could definitely see Jay Lethal and even a couple of other AEW guys, rather than working Dynamites or Rampages, anything like that, working ROH shows more so than AEW shows.
I just don't want the title on Jay Lethal. That would be like the worst thing to do to him. I mean, like I saw so many shows where Lethal was on top of the card, and he's not bad, but it's just like it's the fatigue of seeing him be the guy. Credible challenger for the world title, and I'm excited to see what he does.
All right, so we had the interim women's championship match. Long story short, Peraza was also booked for Impact, and they just couldn't make it work to get her to both things. And I'm guessing also Impact didn't want her. This was actually before the Impact one. So they didn't want her to drop the title because she was doing the champ challenge. So long story short, they came to an agreement. We'll do an interim thing and just do the match later. So it was Mercedes Martinez over Willow Nightingale. Willow cut a little video package promo before. I think it's a pretty foregone conclusion that Willow's going to be popping up in Ring of Honor for quite a while now.
Spoilers, she's going to be showing up on AEW too.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm getting ready to say real quick, in case either of you guys didn't see that, Willow is definitely coming up. I think they showed it for Rampage this week.
Yeah, it's a match against Red Velvet in the Owen Cup for the women.
Qualifier.
So she's getting a TV match. So it'll be interesting. I like Willow Nightingale.
I cannot see Red Velvet.
I cannot.
She's
Willow
fine.
Actually winning that match.
Red Velvet's one of those people where it's just like I'm not a fan now. She's fine. You got to realize, like, she's still really early on in her career.
Absolutely.
And I don't really have an eye for women's wrestling at all, but I can see that it's like she's someone worth like investing in. Like if she ends up in Ring of Honor, I'd be fine. But she's on Dark. It's non-offensive. I'm just not really a fan. Week out.
But as of right now, like I'm not in on the Red Velvet. I hate that so much.
Willow Nightingale, I definitely see her in ROH in the women's division. She's not finished either, but she's all over the indies. She's getting matches in. Tons of respect for that. I'm interested to see what her future is going to look like. I hesitate to say that I'm like a huge believer, but I think there's something there. But anyway, let's stop wasting time. Let's get to the match that we're here to talk about, baby.
Boom. FTR over the Briscoes for the ROH World Tag Team titles. FTR came out with the ROH font for FTR, which Dax was sure to point out at the end of the match with the bell. Like, see, did you catch it? See, I did it. But holy hell, was this a match. I'm almost out of words for how much I enjoyed this match. And I have not said it much on the podcast before, I don't think, but I have never been a Dem Boys guy. I was not a huge Briscoes fan for ROH, anything like that. So I was not expecting to like this as much as I did, but oh my God, did this deliver. That was a masterpiece of a tag match.
Yeah, I was definitely very conflicted going into this because, like Mitch, I was never a big Briscoe boy guy. But at the same time, I was never really a big FTR guy either. So, I mean, I knew both teams could go, that's for sure. but I didn't really know what to expect going into this. But at the end of the day, I was very, very blown away with what both teams brought to the table. It was definitely my match of the night. If there's anything that you're going out of your way to see from the show, is definitely FTR versus Briscoes.
I think I'm just a big Young Bucks fan because during ROH, that was my team. I preferred them over the Briscoes, even though at the time the Briscoes were more technically sound and the Bucks were still, doing like ironic stuff. I was still a Bucks guy. And then whenever FTR was in AEW, I'm like, no, I'm a Bucks guy. FTR is kind of whatever. I enjoyed FTR the most in NXT. Back when NXT was like legit, when they were the best indie in America. They had awesome matches again in Dallas against what was the grapple team? What
American
were they called?
Alpha.
American Alpha. Good pull. That match was awesome. There was a matchup in Toronto against Gargano and Ciampa that was really good. Babyface FTR is arguably the best team in the world. Heel FTR does absolutely nothing for me. I think the secret's kind of out. They're a spot fest team just as much as any other high-flying team. It's just the spots that they do are from a bygone era, but they just hit those. They do the spots, and it doesn't really build to the psychology. So whenever they were doing a babyface turn, I was like, okay, let's see if they're still going to be doing, Southern Spot Fest. They killed it. The Briscoes killed it.
As far as PR goes, Tully was definitely a good manager to go with on paper, but he wasn't enough to make a big difference. Like if they had a manager that was, able to pull the spots from ringside to get the crowd going, get people to hate FTR that much more, that made them a much, much bigger deal. They needed that extra oomph as far as a manager, more so than name value as far as Tully goes. Needed someone to give them that extra little push. To me, FTR should be one of the best heel tag teams, period. In ring, crowd reaction wise, all bases covered. FTR should be that heel tag team. But everything that they did in NXT, I liked watching their matches. Everything that they've done in AEW, I liked watching their matches. But I've never really been.
It felt like something was missing.
Yeah, they've never hit that mark with me that makes me just think, you know what? Fuck these guys. Like MJF. Like they should be the ultimate heel tag team. But there's just something missing with them. And I don't know. I mean, I enjoy watching this babyface, but they definitely could be so much more with the right heel manager to get them over, to get them that much more heat.
I don't know if it's necessarily a manager, but they need someone, like maybe even an agent, to be like, listen, you guys are awesome Southern style tag wrestlers. Slow the match down. Don't be in a hurry to just hit the next spot and set up the next thing. Just take your time. And that's where FTR works their best. And whenever they're like, I mean, you saw it in this match, when they were the underdogs and they were baby faces, it was perfect because they slowed the match down and it played to everyone's strengths. Some people are already throwing match of the year at this. I don't know if I would go that high. I was a coward. I went about 4.5. I enjoyed it. It didn't grab me like it did most other people. Mitch, you said this was maybe match of the year for you.
Absolutely. I can't really compare it to Bucks and Hangman Kenny just because the story is so different, and that was such that's coming off like a 6-year story arc compared to a match pretty thrown together. So it's not even fair to try and compare the two matches. But outside of that, I cannot think of a tag team match I've enjoyed more than this one.
Really?
I liked it better than the ones with American Alpha.
Really? Those are like,
I know, those are bangers and matches. Like, I still watch those back again. This one this hooked me the whole way.
Non-gimmick match, I could definitely see that. But if you're taking gimmick matches into account, Bucks and Lucha Boys is still my number one. tag team match, period.
Oh, dude, I saw their ladder match and their cage match in person, and I lost my voice. But then again, I'm a Bucks guy. I'm not trying to just poo-poo this match and get away from talking about it. Again, 4.5. I thoroughly enjoyed the match, and honestly, we talked a little bit pre-show. I don't know if the Briscoes are sticking around in Ring of Honor. Khan is a fan. He's actually said as much. He is a fan and wants to use them. Higher ups, not as much. And honestly, you got to take the money. Briscoes in Impact, they're killing it in GCW. There's no one that really stands to them there. So I think if they just do Impact and big indies moving forward, that's not a bad lot in life. But I'm gonna be disappointed if they don't work Ring of Honor moving forward.
That's what I was about to say. I would love
have to get a sequel, right?
For sure. Going down the road, I could definitely see TK kind of taking a little bit of a break from them as they go, more mainstream, as he's trying to do right now. But Briscoes in GCW is so good to me, because they are they are the badasses that they should be in GCW, and that's what I'd love to see from them throughout. No matter if it's Impact, Ring of Honor, wherever they go, GCW gives them that extra little edge, that they are just the guys not to fuck with. And that's one thing I would like to see them. If TK is going to take a little bit of a break from them in Ring of Honor, give them that break. Let them go to GCW. Let them go all over the indies and just prove that they are the guys not to fuck with. And then whenever you do bring them back to Ring of Honor, it's that much bigger of a match than it already was.
Oh, for sure. You could sell out a building with the sequel as the main event, without a doubt. We got to get cruising.
Hell yeah, we do. So,
sorry to cut anyone off, but we got to go.
Minoru Suzuki went over Rhett Titus, getting his first, it's the World TV title, his first American title. Should. Absolutely. Highlight, Wheeler Yuta gets the Pure Championship over Josh Woods. Any AEW regulars are going to know that definitely means Yuta's getting accepted into the Blackpool Combat Club, as he should, and he is the Pure Champion to boot. Main event.
Tyler, I know that you're not the biggest Yuta guy. I'm telling you, you might have missed the chance to jump in on the bandwagon. We tried to tell you.
Stock's going up too fast.
I would be in on the Yuta train, but honestly, the thing that threw the whole situation off from me was when Trent got injured and they tried to basically immediately replace him, at least in my eyes, replace him with Yuta. There's no replacement for Trent. You can't bring Yuta or anyone else in.
Oh, sure.
And that's, to me, what it seemed like from the get-go, that they were trying to bring someone else in for Trent. And that's what threw the whole the whole situation off the rails for me. Was I don't want a replacement for Trent. I want Trenty Locks, baby. I don't want anybody else.
He's got a big personality. I'm telling you, he's gonna be a baby face everywhere he goes. He's a baby face. I get what you're saying, but I'm telling you, you've got to get in on Yuta right now.
I mean, you and I got in on Yuta when he was a $10 Bitcoin, but he's up to a couple grand now, and he's steadily climbing.
You want to wrap the show up?
Gresham over Bandito to essentially unify the title, because Bandito says he didn't lose it. He couldn't defend it anymore, so Gresham got it. Gresham went over. Who knows what this means for Bandito going forward, if he's still going to be in Ring of Honor, what he's going to do, but solid match. Solid end to a hell of a supercard.
I will ask this while I've got the chance. Has Bandito stepped up from the slower paced GCW Bandito that we kind of got post-COVID, or is he still down?
So the dirty fact about Bandito is that he's not always a high effort guy. Places like PWG, he shows up. Places like Ring of Honor, he shows up. And I mean, even earlier, he had my match of the weekend against Mike Bailey. He can show up. Oh, who was it that he beat for the ROH title? Roosh.
Yep.
Same thing goes for Roosh. Roosh is way worse than Bandito. I don't want to lump both of them in together. Roosh is way worse about that. But Bandito, it doesn't always go 100%, which as a wrestler, you shouldn't have to.
Right.
but it's just, he's one of those guys I'm a little bit guarded, and whenever he goes over, the 3-star minimum, he kills it. So I would definitely seek out this match. Honestly, there were chunks of this match I enjoyed more than the Briscoes FTR match, which might weird some people out, but I was really, really into this match.
It was a really good match. And then, of course, we finish off with the one and only Samoa Joe coming out. Joe is here to wrestle.
Go.
Joe
The
is
new
not
music
here to manage.
too. Mikey Ruckus killed it.
Absolutely.
Killed
Mikey
it.
Ruckus always kills it.
There's a couple that aren't so great, but
In the Joe segment, but did he come out to typical Samoa Joe music, or was
it's
it a break?
it's very familiar.
It feels
it's
like a Samoa Joe song.
It felt like Ring of Honor didn't want to get a copyright strike.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, Tyler, your time to shine again. Let's go through it really quick. Gringo Loco's The World on Lucha. Johnny Game Changer defeated Jack Cartwheel. Any big thoughts?
Nothing too crazy with that. Like I was saying earlier, Johnny tried to he pulled some comedy spots with the water guns or what have you with Jack Cartwheel. I wasn't a big fan of that. But everything that they did in ring wise, like it was definitely very cool to watch. It was just all the comedy stuff was a little bit too much for me. I didn't get it. I wasn't into it. I just wanted to watch both of them do some crazy hardcore parkour spots. Michael Scott, for sure.
You guys cool skipping forward to the 6-man?
I didn't see any of the show, so.
Okay. So the 6-man, Gringo Loco, Abismo Negro Jr., and Demonic Flamita defeated ASF, Laredo Kid, and Rey Horus. This got traction. I was wondering who was going to pop off this weekend. ASF popped off. For those of you not familiar, ASF is basically like if Dominic Mysterio could actually wrestle. There's a spot in the match where he hurricanranas from one person to another.
Yeah.
And that's after getting like a huge springboard spot. Chris Jericho even tweeted out like, who is this dude? So you can expect to like, Jericho's like, whoa, look at this guy. I would expect to see Jericho squash him on AEW sometime soon.
Little rope to do a springboard and
awesome camera work. It looked like he went like 50 feet in the air. I'm telling you, Mitch, you got to find the gif of this.
Boost shot him like 50 feet into the air, and he did a triple tilt-a-whirl on the first guy, and then a triple tilt-a-whirl on the second guy. And then finally, to finish it off, he does like a triple tilt-a-whirl Hurricane Rana to Gringo Loco. And it was just the most insane thing that I had watched. Like, I went into the show expecting to see some crazy stuff.
Oh, it was spot of the card.
Right. And that's the one thing, whether it's Instagram Reels or anything like that, that's the one thing that sticks out to me so much was ASF popped off this weekend.
And then AR Fox defeated Ninja Mac. It was fine. It didn't live up to the match I had in my head, which kind of bummed me out. And then Dr. Wagner Jr. defeated Psycho Clown, which was good. And I think if it was anywhere else in Texas, or if anywhere else but Texas, I don't think this match happens. But the crowd was pretty much into it. I thought it was fine.
Wagner Jr. and Psycho Clown definitely should have been held off for like a AAA show. I will say that. Like, it was fun for what it was in GCW, but it could have been that much more. It
felt like a throw-in match as opposed to like people who are like really familiar with those guys and how they, Anyway.
And that's kind of the thing as far as both of those guys, because a few weeks ago, Gringo Loco had that awesome match with Psycho Clown. He did the spot off of the touchdown, the field goal section, did like a swan or something, off of that through a table. And then they've been Dr. Wagner kind of the same way, but at the same time, Psycho Clown and Wagner both are no good for English crowds. Like, they definitely need a translator. And if you need a translator, that's just going to take it down a whole nother notch. Like, if you're not in Mexico and you're those two, like, anything else it's not really going to matter nearly as much. But it was fun for what it was.
Mitch, what did you like on the Impact multiverse of matches? We don't have time to run through the whole card, but
No, I think it was a pretty typical Impact show. Mike Bailey versus Alex Shelley was really good. Saban and White was great. That covers the big things that stuck out to me, really.
Dude, I loved
Ishii and Edwards was really good too. I'm a big fan of Eddie Edwards, but I mean it was a typical Impact show. I feel like I've seen a lot of these matches a million times at this point, even if there's one or two names changed. So
in that case, I need to watch more Impact. This was probably one of my favorite shows of the weekend. It was just really easy to watch. There was some stuff that wasn't great. You basically highlighted everything I liked. Good Brothers Briscoes. That's a fine match on paper. That's going to pop some people. But yeah, I mean, what more do you need? You've got Bailey versus Shelley, Ishii versus Edwards, Saban versus White. Let's go.
I mean, Impact is pretty damn good right now.
And I'll say
the booking's not perfect. The storylines aren't amazing. But, it's solid. There's great wrestling on it. There's great wrestling matches on Impact on a regular basis.
Impact needs to put the X Division title on Bailey. He needs shine.
Even at this point, why are they still singles guys? Is what I. Saban and Alex Shelley.
Oh yeah, sorry, I missed what you said.
They'll be back. Shelley. So the situation there, they came back as the Motor City Machine Guns again, of course. Shelley did not sign a contract. Saban did during the pandemic. Shelley works as a physiotherapist and didn't want to commit to that many dates or those sorts of things in the middle of pandemic because his day job was too important for him. So
basically the same with Davey Richards.
Absolutely. That's the reason they aren't a thing right now. It's not lack of wanting to do the machine guns. It's an entirely Alex Shelley thing just based on his life right now.
Quickly, let's go through Spring Break 6 Part 2. I like this match. Dickinson Cardona was better than I thought it would be. Deppen versus Biff was a lot dude, I am a fan of both guys as much as I don't like the Tony Deppen character, but Tyler, like you said, he's really good in ring and he worked really good against Biff. Bailey versus Oliver was fine. Definitely not Bailey's best match of the weekend. And Minoru Suzuki Effie was exactly what I thought it would be. It was very non-offensive. And then the Battle Royal was exactly what people tuned in for.
The clusterfuck was actually that. It was nothing more than a clusterfuck. There was no going into that expecting one thing to happen. Anything that could have and would have happened. I mean, we got Buff Bagwell. We got Jimmy Wang.
The bump that Sean Ross Sapp took, and people were legit online is he good? Can we check on him? Credit to him for doing that.
Me personally, I was just very glad that Chelsea Green was there at the show.
With that said, we're going to do USA vs. the World 2022. Mitch, did you see this one?
I saw some of it. I haven't seen the whole show yet.
I think you would like Ellering Jessica Troy. Ellering continues to get better and better every time I see her.
Absolutely.
Bailey defeating Davey Richards. Awesome match. And then the other match I wanted to highlight was it was supposed to be Bandito and Rey Horus against the Workhorsemen, but it was Bandito and Extreme Tiger versus the Workhorsemen. This match ruled, and I need to see more Workhorsemen. They got an entrance on one of the YouTube shows for AEW, so I'm hoping get that team moving forward. I'm a big fan of those guys. And then Michael Oku defeated Rich Swann. I would say those are the three that I highly recommend.
Yeah, I jumped in. I've seen Bandito down, and I agree completely. I'm not a big Damo guy, so I like Tankman, but that match did nothing for me because I don't like Damo at all. But yeah, Bandito and Tiger against the Workhorseman was great. Michael Oku's awesome. So that's the part I've seen so far, and I enjoyed what I saw for the most part.
Sweet. And then you watched Mission Pro, right?
Yeah. So really quickly, it's all women's promotion, all women matches. The highlights to kind of seek out, again, if you like women's wrestling, you're going to have a good time. If you're kind of on the fence about women's wrestling, this is probably not the show to hook you because it's a lot of up-and-comers who are still very green and very much developing. So you have to watch these shows through the lens of a developmental show. That said, Lindsay Snow and Masha Slamovich, that's a good pairing in general to have fighting each other. It's great to see Snow healthy again. Thunder Rosa and Trish Adora, worth watching. All the other matches were fine. Just, again, go into it knowing you're getting a lot of developmental people. Oh, and Holodead versus Lufisto, that's more of a veteran match, but if you're not into the whole Holodead gimmick, then you probably won't enjoy it. So, it's, again, you know what you're getting into with her, so.
I did see that they're based out of Buda, Texas, which is like this really awesome, like it's a small town that's like outside of Austin. I got an Airbnb there for a film festival. I love it. Major shout out to Buda, Texas. If you boys ever find yourself down there in Austin, stay in Buda. It's awesome.
Noted.
That gets us to Black Label Pro. I hate to end the show on reviewing negatively, but I absolutely hated this show. Which sucks because I really want to like Black Label Pro. This show was brutal, and it didn't help that it was like 1:00 in the morning and it was like the last show. But it was just like there was stuff on this show. Like I think it had Jake something versus PCO. I was like, okay, give me a big Hoss match, and I didn't get it. I'll say this really quick: if I'm a talent scout and I watched Billy Starks and Shaza McKenzie, I would take Shaza McKenzie off of my big board. That match was really, really, really bad. And I think moving forward, both women are going to have to work really hard and hope that people didn't watch that match.
Yeah, I'm not giving up on Shaza yet, but this was not the best outing by any stretch of the imagination. No, as I said, I know it's still pretty early on in being back in America though, and if I do think to some other guys getting off some ring rust, whether it was being locked out because of COVID, or honestly, even if I look at someone like Miro in his early AEW run, the early part sucked. It was bad. And then once the rust got off and he got a better character, it started to click. So I'm willing to be patient with Shaza because it has been so long, and this is like maybe match 4 or 5 back. So, and Starks is really young, so that's like you're not going up against a 15-year veteran to help you get the ring rust off. So I'll give it some grace period for sure on that.
Are you in agreement with me that Charlie Haas is done?
I really hope so. I get scared every time I see him move. Like
the Effie match, like Effie's Effie. I'm a fan. I think he has a ceiling much higher than what people think. I mean, Tyler, would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I love Effie. I can watch any Effie match, period. But I was just ready to follow up on what you guys were saying about Charlie Haas. I didn't even know that Charlie Haas was still wrestling. The last that I saw of him was, a couple of years ago on ROH TV on my local channel 56 station or whatever was the last that I saw of Charlie Haas. I had no idea that he was still going.
Well, I think he came in for an Impact taping and got hurt. And then we saw him for West Coast Pro against Rocky Romero. And that match was fine, but that was more like Rocky can work with anybody. And in this match with Effie, it was just bad. His mic work's bad. His in-ring is super cringe. Last time we talked about him, I suggested maybe becoming a deathmatch guy because you just, it's stunt work at that point. And you don't have to like really showcase your wrestling skills, but I don't know if he's self-aware enough to do that. Then there's, Kobe Durst and Jessica Troy was skippable. I don't remember anything. And then Big Damo versus Warhorse. I felt bad for Warhorse. It seemed like he came out here just like ready to go. And Big Damo, dude, the energy off of him was that he just didn't want to be there. And that's 2 shows in a row.
I wasn't high on him to begin with, so I feel like this is an I told you so moment for me with him.
I will say definitely my match of the show was the Workhorsemen against Davey Richards and Mike Bailey. It was awesome. I'm a fan of all 4 guys. I would watch this show just for that one match because I was kind of disappointed by Anthony Green, Black Taurus, Alex Zane, and Blake Christian. Those are all guys that can go. But again, it's like 1-2 o'clock in the morning. It is what it is. I hope that there's more. A couple multi-man matches that were fine. I will say, as much grief as I've given Levi Everett, especially when we reviewed the last Black Label Pro show, why are we pushing Levi Everett to be a fucking world beater? I like the match. Like he was in a Texas death match against Big Beef. It wasn't a bad match. Like it was good. And Levi Everett's a good worker. What are we doing?
All I can think of right now is Levi Everett and Red Velvet in an intergender tag match doing Stir It Up and his stupid churning butter shit together, and I can't think of anything else right now. So.
And we lost Tyler from the call. That was the show. Thanks for sticking with us. If you did. Match of the week. Tyler, I want to start with you. What was your match of the week?
I would have to go back and look through all 5 of the shows that I did watch of the GCW shows, just because, like I said, everything that I watched out of that, I enjoyed almost everything out of.
It's not. I thought you were going to be slam dunk Briscoe's FTR.
If I'm going outside of GCW, I would say Briscoe's FTR. But if it's GCW, anything, I would just recommend watching the whole GCW collective. Screw the rest of the shows. If you're going to watch, and this is just coming from someone who hasn't watched anything other than just the GCW collective shows. The shows that I did watch out of that, there was the only thing that I didn't like was the Hoodfoot and Madman Pondo match at Planet Death. Everything else was either exactly what I expected or blew me away. Like,
would you have a match from GCW higher than Mox versus Biff? Because I think that's easily my GCW match of the weekend.
To me, the 6-man, the Gringo Loco 6-man tag match from World on Lucha, really what sticks out the most in my mind.
It's the one that went viral. Not
even just for the ASF spot, but for the whole match itself. Like, it was super fun to watch from start to finish.
Mitch, what about you?
FTR Briscoes, no question. Don't really have to think that. Yep.
I didn't think that all 3 of us would pick a different match.
That's a positive thing. It
is. I'm going Bandito Bailey. I might change my mind later. I'll probably have to watch that FTR Briscoes match again, just because this weekend was a slog. It's so hard to be like, this was definitively better than this. I'm just going gut feeling.
Really wanted to. That could possibly have changed my mind was Bandito versus Gresham. That was the one other match that I was really looking forward to that I expected to be.
That one's hard for me because I'm a Bandito apologist, and I'm so down on Gresham since the whole Terminus debacle. That's really been pretty rough for me to like not grade his matches like negatively. I think you would really dig it, but I think that tag match is the match on the show. So yeah. So Tyler, what's your official pick? Is it the 6-man or Biff Mox?
Damn.
I know it's kind of a kill your darlings moment. It's hard.
I would say Biff and Mox, really, because
I would agree with that.
That'd be my number 2.
See, like, words don't do it enough justice. You have to watch that match to see how much they actually beat the shit out of each other and make each other bleed, and all the submissions and all the hard knocks and everything that they go throughout that whole match. Like, it's just something that you have to see for yourself to really appreciate.
I can't remember which one of you it was I messaged, but Mox in shorts is so much better than Mox in cargo pants, and it's not even close. Like, I want that version of Mox every single time I see him. Okay, so you're going Biff, Mox. I'm going Bailey, Bandito, and Mitch is going to go with FTR Briscoes. And I can't tell either one of you you're wrong. That's the show. So thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, I'm Jake.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Tyler.
There you go. This is the Bingo Hall Boys podcast.